Hello and welcome, folks, to The Freelancer. This podcast discusses all things publishing through a social justice lens. My name is Andy Hodges. I'm a cultural anthropologist turned fiction writer and editor, and I own a book editing business called The Narrative Craft. Make sure you subscribe to this show so you never miss an episode, and sign up for my fortnightly newsletter in the show notes if you want more regular updates. Welcome to Show 0. Yup, this is a very short trailer for my show. So on The Freelancer, I'll be discussing all things publishing through a feminist, queer, and often anti-capitalist lens. And this show is really for authors and book editors trying to navigate the publishing industry in a heart-centered way that prioritises building relationships and doing business at a slow, human pace. Season 1 launches on Friday, March the 7th, and episodes will be published once a fortnight. Season 1 will have 6 episodes and it will just feature me, but watch out for guests in future seasons, and if you're interested in being a guest, get in touch. So why did I call it The Freelancer? Well, I wanted something simple that conveys a fighting, resistance spirit, and I wanted it to be in a kind of fantasy fiction vein because I really love fantasy fiction. And the fighting spirit, what about that? Well, Anglo-American mainstream publishing can often seem sort of very nice, conflict avoidant, and I think this niceness can actually conceal a lot of bad stuff. And this show's going to attempt to unpack some of that. Okay, so I know that freelancers were technically hired mercenaries in the Middle Ages who sold their services to the highest bidder. That is not the vibe I'm going for, but I figured the term could be reclaimed, just like queer. So what kind of topics can you expect on this show? Well, here's what I've got in store for you. Episode 1 is called Falling Out of Love with Self-Publishing. I'll be discussing problems I see with that industry from my perspective as an editor who has worked on both traditionally published novels and self-published novels. And I think that many of the problems with self-publishing are similar to problems linked to social media, and I'll discuss that more in episode 1. Episode 2 is called Is Your Small Business Extractive? And I'll be discussing how we, as editors and authors, can end up being exploited by other businesses in publishing. Or, alternatively, we can end up doing the exploiting of others ourselves. None of this is good, and I'll discuss problems and possible solutions. Episode 3 is called Prestige Traps. Kind of a scary name, I know. Well, pretty much anyone will tell you that mainstream publishing is a high prestige, low wages industry. In this episode, I'll be exploring what this means for economic accessibility, and I'll discuss how editors can easily get stuck in a cycle of high prestige work that doesn't pay enough money to cover reasonable wages in the UK or USA. So that's it. That should give you a taste of what to expect, and I hope you'll stick around. Thank you, folks, for listening. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for all the useful links, and if you want to keep in touch, sign up for my newsletter or subscribe to this podcast. See you next month.